Hello students, in the last video we have seen some of the basic terms or terminologies associated with internet basics and HTML. Next, let us see how to get connected to internet. We all know since the use of this mobile phone has been increased, we don't have much to do about connection. There will be an icon called mobile data. You just have to switch it on and you just get the internet and you can enjoy. But these were the not the things that we used to do when the internet first came into existence. So and internet was solely connected to the computers, and there were no internet connected to phones. So how did we use to get connected to the internet through systems? We'll see that. So when we say an internet is connected to the system, first thing is we need to have a computer. So computer should have the basic uh, you know um, the properties with it, the assemblies that have been put into it. So they are like, at least it should have a 386 microprocessor chip with the minimum of 16 MB of RAM. And nowadays the system is far much better than what we used to get today. So our RAM is much more higher version than this. And for good browsing experience, it should, we expect it to be a little faster chip like Pentium 3 and Pentium 4. And since the evolution of microprocessors have taken place, we are not just in Pentium, we are in Core i3 or i4, Core i3, i5 and i7 Pentium microprocessors are available now. And we should have a monitor of resolution minimum of 640 to 480, and nowadays we get a monitor much with a much higher resolution than this. And it has a capability of showing 256 colors in it. And the hard disk minimum of 200 MB should be there, that is 200 MB space should be there. But nowadays again we have the hard disk that is around 1 TB. So that is very much enough to browse on a system. And so to store some of the internet files, when we actually open an internet file, there will be a temporary file opening in the backend. Like, we don't have to do anything, but that will be just downloaded and stored so that you can view the files on the internet. So this will be done by the system itself. And it should support some of the things like, if at all it has a video file, if at all it has a picture file, that image file, so those things have to be supported for you to view. Otherwise what happens, you might have seen some of the mails where, or some of the websites where during your slow internet connection, there will be just a box which will be appearing a small icon of an image, and you cannot actually see the image. You can only see that there is an image in this place, right? You might have noticed that. So that kind of things appear if you don't have a supporting software to view that media. So that will be installed that will be there in your system to watch it. And since we have a sound also in this internet files, we can have a pair of speakers and a sound card for the sound, or the whatever the music that we want to hear from the net. So this is the computer specifications that we need to have. Next thing is the modem. You all know, if we want to have a internet connection to the system, that is wired connections, we need to have a modem, or else we can have a wireless modem. That is a different concept, that is also a different concept. But if it is a wired modem, we need to have a external modem in the system. Why is it called modem? Because it is a combination of modulation and demodulation. So the acronym is for modulator and demodulator, so that becomes modem. And it is again a hardware. That why is it required? Because we are talking about the era when the telephone lines were used to get internet. You might have known First, when the internet came into existence, at least in India, it was just the BSNL that was giving internet, and they had telephones, and along with the telephone lines, they used to give internet for the system. So telephone lines would have been connected to this. So telephone, through a telephone lines, we are getting the analog signals. It is not a digital one. There are copper lines inside the telephone wires or telephone lines, and in that analog signals, this modem will convert into digital one. The computer will read the digital signals, and whatever the information we need to send back, that is sent again in the digital form to the modem, and in the modem again it is converted to the analog signals, and to the telephone lines it goes back wherever we have sent it. So this is what totally happens. And for again, to operate the internet on your system, you need to have this TCP/IP protocols, and the browser will have a type of internet connection that could be dial-up, ISDN, cable, leased line, DSL, broadband, whatever it is. So in the modem, there are two types, that is internal modem and the external modem. So, what is internal modem? It is nothing but that is already there inside your system. So, what does this do? This connects the internet socket that we get from the telephone lines, and it is connected to um, the where you need to actually, it is connected to the computer. So, that is directly the it is a, with running with the lead that is connected directly to the computer through a telephone socket. What is an external modem? As I explained, that is actually outside of your system, that converts your whatever the instructions is coming from the computer is converted to telephone lines, that is to analog signals, and whatever is coming from the telephone lines is converted to the digital signals that the computer can understand. Then this is just the hardware. You must understand, this is a hardware. Just because of having the hardware, you cannot have an internet connection. After you connect this hardware to the system and the telephone socket or the telephone lines, what you need to do is that you have to set up the connection. To set up this connection, we have 6 types. We'll see all this one by one. First thing is the dial-up. Dial-up is the very old method of connecting to internet. That is, as you dial numbers on your telephone and you call some other person with their number, that actually the frequency connects of the telephone, and they can have a talk through a telephone. Same way, in a computer we are actually using this dial up. There will be a like kind of virtual dial up connection, like virtual dialog box, that where you will actually be connected. So it's a kind of a analog thing, because from the system it goes through the telephone line, so the connection will be kind of analog, so that we call it as a dial up. So as you can hear, when it is a dial up, the connection will be kind of poor, it will be not that fast. So whatever the information we get, it is not that you know fast, and it is not up to the mark, or up to the quality will not be that good. So what we need to, the speed will be less mainly. So what we need to do, the other option we have is the ISDN. That is, it stands for Integrated Services Digital Network, ISDN. It is more common in business and commercial use, because we cannot have, or we cannot wait for the slow connection. The connection has to be very fast, and the information that we want to exchange will be large. So this is a first high speed alternative to the regular analog telephone modems. So this involves digitization of telephone network. That is, you can send this voice, graphics, text and other things in a single terminal over the existing telephone wire itself. And again, digital connections have fewer errors in the transmission compared to your analog connections. So this is an improved version of a dial-up connection. Next is the cable modem. See, cable modem is one thing that is actually being popular now, because it cable, as you understand, cable is that we have for TV networks, right? So same that cable modem, it can be used to have internet as well as television lines. So many cable companies offer internet these days. They will be typically have two connections, again one for television outlet, another for computer. So cable modems not only provide a faster internet access, but it can be interactivity to the television also. So the television and the internet can be viewed together. But in dial up this does not happen. If at all you are using the dial up, your telephone will not be working, you will not be getting the calls if you are working on the internet. So this is the difference. Next is the leased line. Leased line is like a facility that provides reliable high-speed internet access ranging from 2.4 kbps to 45 mbps. So it is like a line or a connection that is given to one or more sites for a fixed monthly charge. You have to pay it monthly. Okay, and usually these can be a fiber optic cable or a copper line. And leased line service provides a consistent amount of bandwidth. It's like see, bandwidth you can refer it to as, you can think of it as a highway. See, there are two things that causes a traffic in a highway, right? One thing is what, the road is narrow, right? That is what, road is narrow and there is so many vehicles going on this road. That is one thing. But in the same time, if you actually broaden the road, what happens if at all same amount of traffic is there, same amount of vehicle is there, they can go smoothly. One thing is that. Otherwise, let us say there is a road which has very less traffic, right? So, and you are the only person to travel in that road, then you will be going very fast, right? You will get a very speed. Your vehicle can go very in a very fast manner. So these are the two things. So bandwidth, like it's like a road or a highway. So when you give a larger space to travel, obviously your speed of transmission will be high. So that is about a leased line. And again, there is a DSL, that is a digital subscriber line. It is a service provided through an existing telephone line. But the difference between this and the dial up is, in this you can have the call along with the usage of internet. These both are not disturbed. That is, simultaneously you can talk on a telephone and also work on the system. And the speed of this is tenfold from the standard dial up modem. Whatever the dial up speed will be there, from that it will be 10 times more. And the most commonly heard is the broadband. You might have heard this. So this type of access is good for remote locations where ISDN cable or DSL are not available. See, for all these lines we need to have a wired connection. But this broadband can be got through a dish. The thing is, download speed will be good, but again the upload will be a little difficult. So what they do, they have a satellite connection that can be either two-way or a one-way service. In case of two-way service, data are transmitted via satellite and a dish antenna at the user's house. If it is a one-way, then user needs to have a conventional modem and telephone line link to an ISP. So there are two types in this. So satellite connection is expensive, but if at all there is no other means of having a wired connection, this is the only method to have a internet connection. So that is about the broadband. Next is a internet software. See, it is not just enough to have an hardware. It is not just enough to have a connection. Your system should also have some of the internet software to get this. Okay, so what are these software? The first one is TCP/IP. TCP/IP is nothing but transmission control protocol or internet protocol. It is the basic communication protocol of the internet. So what does it do? This allows programs on the user's computer to communicate over internet. If at all this does not see, the word protocol itself says it has kind of rules and a set of regulations. If the computer does not obey that rules and regulations, it cannot connect to the internet. And usually when you are set up with the direct access to the internet, your computer is provided with the copy of TCP IP. That is, like, it is also given a set of instructions like what you can do and what you cannot do. And similarly, every other computer that you send messages also get this information and has a copy of this TCP and IP. Next is the dialer software. This is provided by the ISP, that is Internet Service Provider, to instruct the modem to dial a telephone number to identify the user's machine to access provider system for access the network. That is, see, you have a system, you want to get, let us say, a system is in a college or your friend's system, and you want to get the information from your friend's system. That is, you need to communicate with your friend's system. What does this dialer software do? It will dial to the system or dial to the connection where you can get your friend's connection. So it is not like your telephone directly you're connecting to that, but you will connect to a kind of server somewhere where your friend also will be connected. So through that you get the information. Okay, so that is a dialer software. That is actually to access the network. Next is the browser. You all know what a browser is, right? So to use an internet, of course, you need a web browser, right? So it is a very essential part, because without that, even though your connection and everything, you don't have a browser set up in your system, you cannot get the information. So first, when you bring the system, there will be one default browser, and from that browser, you will be installing whatever the browsers you are familiar with. Especially, it can be Google Chrome or Yahoo or whatever. There are so many browsers available like Mozilla Firefox and all that. So you install that and get the information through these browsers. So next is the internet applications. So where is this, or where are these internet applied? First thing is electronic mail. You know, there is nothing more into it. So electronic mail is nothing but it's kind of, letter exchange technology that you can have through electronic media, right? So like you can type anything, like you can add photos, or you can add videos, or you can the mixture of all these things, and you can have a kind of document and send it to anybody who has an email ID, right? So that is nothing but an electronic mail. So there will be a mailbox, there is an inbox, so your mail comes to inbox, you search in that, and whatever the information you have sent will be in the sent items. And if at all you have sent the item and the receiver has not received the thing, that will be in the outbox. And some of the information that are randomly sent to you will be in the spam, and whatever you have deleted will be in the trash. So these all will be the options available in your system. Next is the file transfer protocol. That is, in order to send an information from your system to other system, again there has to be a set of rules and regulations that need to be followed by your system. It's not the user, it's the system who sends the information, right? You are the user, you write whatever you want to send, but the rules and regulation the system has to follow. That is a protocol, that we call it as a file transfer protocol. So what is it? It is a set of rules that enables a user to transfer files from one system to another. So it was the first system that was developed to internet, so that government and education institution could easily exchange files. But later it was used by everyone who were connected to the internet. So using FTP, we can upload, download from the remote computer. Remote computer is nothing but a computer that a user is using from his end. It can be anywhere of his own, like home or office, anything of that sort. And he has the access and permission to the remote machine, and from there he can transfer the files using, it can be through email or any other technology he can use and send that. And it can have books, music, software, games, images, sounds, multimedia, anything can be there that could be transferred to FTP, that is file transfer protocol. Next is we have the Telnet. So what is Telnet? It is derived from the telecommunication and network. The word itself says, you can identify that, right? And again, it is a protocol that allows a user to log onto a remote computer. Telnet is also known as a remote login, which means connecting one machine to another in such a way that person may interact with another machine as if it is being used locally. That is like a system is very connected, very near in physical, in the physical environment, and he can talk to that system, or he can actually make a connection to the system through this telnet. That is even though physically it may be very far, okay, it seems that it is very near. Okay, like somebody from Delhi can connect to the computer in New York Public Library and search anything, a card catalog or anything in that library. So this we call it as a telnet. That is one some computer from somewhere, in a remote area or in remote place, it can access something on the other end, which is again very far from it in the physical environment. But for the system, it does not matter. The physical environment actually does not matter. It seems like it is very near to it, like physically very near it feels. So that is a telnet. Again, they have the commands that we use for the telnet, and the monitor displays what is taking place on the remote computer during the telnet session, and it initiates a connection, and the local computer is called the telnet client, and the machine being connected to which accepts the connection is referred to as a telnet server. Okay, so that is about a telnet. Next is internet relay chat. See, one thing you have to remember, these are the things that came before your social media came into existence, students. So nowadays, like all these things are available in social media. We don't have separate, especially this telnet, internet relay chat, chatting and instant messaging, internet telephoning, and video conference. Of course, we have now, and commerce to internet. It can be said as e-commerce, and news groups and mailing chats, all mailing lists. These are all modified versions, or they are improved versions that now we have is chatting, whatever the chat apps we have, or chat messengers we have, that we are using to chat on the internet. Okay, so these were the previous versions of what we are having now. So internet relay chat is like nothing but it's like an online chat. See, it's like there are a group of people out there on the network. You say you want to join into the group, they will provide you with the you will be treated as one client, and you will be given a chance to you know join them, and there will be a group of discussion going on any of the topic for that matter. You join the group, you talk about whatever you feel or whatever the information you have to share, and it need not be just one group will be concentrating on one of the kind of topics, and there will be other groups that will be working in a similar way but with different topics. So you can join any of the groups, any number of groups, and give your views, and the chat goes on this way. So it can be again a one to one, or it can be you can simply post your chat on a group chat. Okay, next is chatting and instant messaging. So the best example for this we can give is a Yahoo Messenger, MSN Messenger, and nowadays it can also be compared that to Facebook Messenger. So you have all worked on this, right? So how does it work actually? See, it is an instant messenger, right? You can have one more person, you can directly talk to them on the messenger. So what is the difference between internet relay chat and chatting instant messaging? Internet relay chat is like you are actually chatting with a group of people of similar minds or similar topic who have for the discussion. Here it is like much like individual. It's like almost real time, like only if that other person is present there he can talk that, right? If he's not present, you cannot talk to him. So that is instant message, sorry, instant messaging and chatting. So next is the telephone, internet telephony. So what is this? I don't know if you have seen or heard about this. People in a little back in when they used to go to a foreign country and they used to call to phone through internet. I hope you have heard about it. So what they do, they actually, you might have heard, they actually call from a computer and you get the phone on your telephone. So how was that possible? They go to an computer and dial a host or anybody who they want to speak to, and that goes through a modem. That is, the system is connected to a modem. From that modem it goes to the internet, and internet there it uses a protocol called, again, using voice over internet protocol, that VoIP it's called. And from there it comes to a public telephone network where you are situated. Okay, and from there it comes to your phone, and the phone rings and you pick up. And before, and they also had different kinds of rings for these different kinds of calls. If it is an international call, it had some kind of different ring pattern in that, so you could make out that it is an international call. So there were, of course, there were disturbances in that, and it was a little slow compared to the technologies that we have now. So that is nothing but an internet telephony. It actually requires, like, hardware, like traditional telephones and audio equipped like personal computers, and gatekeepers that provide call admission control, bandwidth management, address translation, authentication, and user location. So these things were required to have this voice over internet, and a protocol for that to connect to each other. So there were service providers for this, and you could call anyone in the world at any time. So all these were given by this internet telephony. Next is video conferencing. This is something very similar. We know all these days, right? Nowadays we are actually having this video conferencing. So to have a video conference, what is the basic thing that we need? Of course, we have the telephones. Everything is built in that telephone. But if we are speaking about a computer, what are the things we need to have? This a video conferencing. Um, See, it has to be a person to person, or you can also say it as point to point. And if it has more than one person, we call it as multi-point. And the conferencing terminals, or in individual system, we call it as endpoints. Okay, and what are the things that we require actually? See, we need a web camera, right? So that our image can be captured. Then we need a visual display so that their picture can be seen. We can see their picture, or their picture can be seen on our screen. Then of course the voice, that is an audio system, is required. One more thing is compression. That is, when a video is captured in a system, that will be of a very high size. So when it is transferred to the other end, that high size takes so much time to reach other destination. So what is done, that file size of that is reduced, that is compressed, and then it is sent. Then there is user interface and control system that controls the instruction. For example, to start a call, placing a call, storing the information, locating numbers, and adjusting environment such as volume or the picture quality, whatever it is, all these things are maintained using the user interface and control system. The next is a commerce through internet. This is nothing but the e-commerce, or whatever the online shopping is. Nowadays we call it as online shopping. So that is nothing but e-commerce, or the commerce through internet. See this, in the previous times, or when a few years back, e-commerce was not that famous, or that it did not gain that popularity. Like, it was just blooming thing that time. So but now what we have, it has bloomed so much that almost everything is available on internet. You can buy almost everything on internet. And it, like, you can make online payments, you can get it, you can get credited to your account through online, you can send money to others online, you can receive money, you can also, get salary through online, you can get fees paid on the online. So all things have been possible because of what? Internet, of course. And again, the you know the uh, revised version, we can say it as the m-commerce, that is mobile commerce. So we are always restricting our things to the computers, but mobiles are also, since the internet is being used by the mobile also has a commerce in it. That is also, we can do mobile shopping. Again, the money transfer can be done through mobile. Again, the money receiving, crediting, and internet banking, that is mobile banking, everything is available. Whatever is present in the computer now is available on the mobile phone also. So that m-commerce also has increased. And next is the news groups. As I have explained this in the previous video, it is nothing but it's like a set of people, they have a group, they discuss about current things or the scientific researchers or the social problems, whatever it is, they make a group and discuss it. And it was also called as usenet, because it is the current things are being, whatever the information the people are interested in, they just go there and speak out. So that is nothing but news groups. The next is the mailing list. So this is something like, you can say, we actually send so many mails to, like one mail is sent to many people whom we know. So there, in the previous times, what it was, there was like, there was a list of mail IDs created. Like, of course you need to have a mail ID for this, and there was a list of mail IDs and they were connected as a group. If one person sends the mail, and that mail was sent to all the members of this group. It was like, in one time when the internet was, sorry, when the electronic mail was a little in a boom, everybody used to send these forward messages to internet. Phones were not that popular that time, like it did not come to the market as such. So everybody used to send messages, forward messages, everything in a group. And that group, again, it was not just sent to one person like what we have now, sending into a group. So it was made a list of people, like in email IDs list was made, which was called as a list server. Then the information was sent to it. So that is called the mailing list. So next is how this data is been sent. So these are the methods available to send we have, but actually how is it sent? See, there are two things for this, that is static component and a dynamic component. See, static component is nothing but, for example, if you have to take an example of WhatsApp, whatever the information you type and send as in a chat box, or just type in that chat, in a keyboard, you type that and send it to your friend. So whatever the thing you have typed, it can be like your emoji or a media file that you have shared, whatever it is, all those things are static. That is, that don't change, because they are kind of data that you are sending to the receiver whom you want it to receive. So that can be text. And in computer terms or in internet terms, these documents has to be in HTML. Okay, so we create a document in HTML, it has some of the information whatever it should be there, and we are sending it to someone. Then what is this dynamic component? To send this HTML file or the document, it is not sufficient just to type it in HTML and keep. To support this file to be to be sent from your system to their system and to be opened in their system, you need a set of things. So what are they? So there are so many types in that. Like, is the first one is the, we are going to study, is the Perl. Perl is nothing but is actually an external programs called CGI scripts or CGI program is used by the web server. Okay, this is usually written in Perl to communicate with other programs such as database or mail running on the server, etc. CGI programs generally use process the information from an interactive form of the web page. Typical application would be database. Okay. See, I remember you have sent some of the filled some of Google forms. Some of the questions were asked on that, and you have filled that and you have sent it, right? So where will that go? The information whatever you have sent, for example the name, that name will be stored in a separate column, or in a database in a separate space. The names are stored. Your class or whatever the option you have opted, that will be stored somewhere. Your register number, that will be stored together. So when you retrieve one register number, your name will be got, your consent for joining that event will be got, whatever the phone number you have typed will be given, will be got to the. So where this actually is stored, it is stored in a database. Why? Because it is the data that you have given and it has to be stored somewhere, and we store it in a database. To access the information of database, it is not that easy. That is, for this, see, database base has some its own language, and your HTML page has to discuss with, or has to communicate with this database. So to be a communicator between them, we have this Perl as a language. Next is in the similar way we have JavaScript and JScript. Let me tell you the first difference between these both. The JavaScript is nothing but that was developed by Sun Microsystems and was first implemented in version 2 of the Netscape browser. It is the name of a browser, that is Netscape. So there it was used. And JScript is a Microsoft's implementation of the JavaScript. So those both are typically same, but the thing is different companies used it, or brought it out. It's the same thing like saying, see, if anyone has an Android phone, we call it as a phone or the cell phone. But if anybody has an Apple phone, we call it as an iPhone. It's nothing but a company is different that produce the same thing. Of course, the internal also differs, like on operating system used are different, and some of the features used are different. But typically, when you see, they both look the same, right? The same way, it is JavaScript and the JScript. Next is the VBScript. Like JavaScript, VBScript is also client-based language that has been developed by Microsoft, and it runs only on the Internet Explorer. So other browsers don't support it. And although JavaScript runs on both Netscape and Internet Explorer, VBScript is easier to code when developing active server pages. So that is why VBScript is used. One more thing is ASP, that is active server pages. So this is a technology again promoted by Microsoft. It uses some special tags embedded in HTML, because HTML single as a language is not sufficient to you a great graphics effect in your system or for your web pages. That is why there are so many other languages that has been used for enhancing its power. So this ASP can be embedded in your HTML code to generate dynamic web pages. Dynamic in the sense that web pages so much of colorful, or it will be keep on changing, new things will be popping up in your system. For that we need this ASP. And why do we use this ASP is mainly because of its advantages of ease of maintenance of a website. It is very easy to maintain a website by using ASP. Next is the PHP. The expansion is something like hypertext preprocessor. Okay, we call it as PHP. Again, it is an open source development environment, and it is very easy to program in PHP. See, HTML is like the basic language that was invented, but later on PHP, XML, all these things were used. So it is simpler compared to your HTML. This is simpler, and you can embed this both things, like PHP along with HTML can be used to get the information from the databases, and it can generate a dynamic content. For example, you might have seen, like for example, some of the spams you get. See, even though it is a spam, there will be hello and your name. See, actually it is not sent only to you, it was sent to 100 other people, but what has it done? It has put your name in it, right? So how it is possible? Because of this PHP. Next is the XML, that is extensible markup language. Again, this also enables programmers to create a customized tags that provide much needed functionality presently unavailable with HTML, that are not available in HTML, and you need some other facilities to be working. You use this XML, that is extensible markup language. So these documents can be accessed using anything like ASP, PHP, anything you can use this facility to access. Next is Java. You might have all at least heard of this language, I believe. Java is a very powerful and objective oriented language like C++ itself, developed by Sun Microsystems, and mainly Java applets are used in this web. Okay, and they are small Java programs that, like, which when called in HTML page, a web server, and run on a Java compatible web server. Again, this is for ease of use. Java will make your pages look better. So Java applets are used in this you know um, internet. Okay, so this is all about the basics of internet first chapter.